The Eclectic Writer presents The House That No One Built, Part 8. The television turned on by itself, playing a commercial in black and white. One of those cooking oil commercials. Serene jumped when the television came on, but she stared at the screen. Then it dawned on her. She must have sat on the remote. She stood and looked at the cushion for the device. Nothing there. She turned back to the TV and realized that it wasn't one of those that was controlled by a remote. It had turnstile knobs and a pull-out, push-in button for the power. The commercial ended, and the man she saw in the reading room was on the screen. It wasn't in color, nor was it black and white. It was somewhere in between. Serene. By now you've explored a lot of the house. I'm sure you have a lot of questions by now. The man stared to the screen at her. Serene walked sideways to the other side of the couch. The gaze of the man on the TV followed her. She moved to the other side of the room. Once again, he followed her movements. "Who are you?" she yelled at the TV. "Ah, there we are. The first question. I thought you might be different from the others, but it's always the same first question. Who am I?" The man shook his head as if disappointed. "Others?" The second question without an answer to the first. "Typical," the man said. "You didn't read your book, did you?" "I read the book," Serene said, staring at the television as she found her way back to the couch. Obviously, this was the bi-directional monitoring system, part of the escape route charade. "All of it?" the man said. Serene shook her head. "I was going to, but it disappeared." Again, the man shook his head in disappointment. "If you had intended to read more, then it would have stayed. You got upset and slammed the book closed, didn't you?" How could he know that, she wondered. "Because the house told me." He answered her question without her saying it out loud. "You really don't know where you are, do you?" Serene slowly turned her head from side to side. She didn't like the implication he was making. It couldn't be true. This was some kind of a sick joke. It had to be. "It all seems like a dream, doesn't it?" the man asked. A smile made its way onto his face. It was a comforting smile, not the sinister smile she might have expected. "It has to be a dream, but I fell asleep on the couch in the basement." "Why did I fall asleep? How long have I been here?" Questions about the logical. The man nodded. "Let's go back just a little bit. I am the curator. I work for the house." "You mean the owner?" "No, I mean the house," the curator corrected. "Time has no meaning here. An hour, a year, a day, it's all the same." "That's impossible," Serene said. "I know the difference between fantasy and reality." The man chuckled. "Do you? Or do you simply know the difference between what you think is reality and what you believe is fiction?" "That's the same thing." "There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamed of in your philosophy," he said. "Shakespeare," Serene blurted. "Please form your response in the form of a question." The man chuckled. "Nonetheless, the statement is true. You have lived your life looking through a glass darkly. You have only seen the limited view of a window into a world that you know so little about." "Yeah, well, there's not a lot of the world I needed to see." Serene stood and walked toward the television. The man followed her every move, even when she looked behind the box. "There are no cables," the man said. "And to save you time and possibly some shock, there's no power cord either." "Yeah, so you run on batteries, so what?" She stood in front of the television, looking down at the man. He shrugged. "In a way, I suppose that's true. If you don't mind, I'd like to get past the mundane and predictable responses. Everyone goes through the same thing. I was hoping that you would be above all that." "Why?" Serene asked, crossing her arms. "Why which?" the man asked. "Why does everyone go through the same thing, or why was I hoping you were different?" Serene uncrossed her arms and let her hands fall to her sides. Both." "Please sit back down," the man sighed, "and we'll go through it all again. Honestly, I don't understand the limitations of your kind." Serene sat back on the couch in a hop and crossed her arms again. "My kind? What's that supposed to mean?" "Human," the man said, his tone a combination of disdain, disgust, and pity. "You can't tell the difference between a dream and reality." "Yes, we can," Serene said. "We know the difference between a dream and a real life." "Do you?" the man asked. "Do you know that you're in a dream while you are in it? Everything seems so real to you in that moment." The next moment in the dream, it still seems real even when none of it makes sense. There are countless movies and stories about the realization of dreams, how to know if you are in one or not in one, and yet, while you are in a dream, you do not know that you are in a dream. Yeah, but when we wake up, we know, Serene pointed out. An after the fact realization, perhaps, the curator said. Or is it that you have come to realize that you simply switched from one dream to another? That's a philosophical question, Serene said. How much of reality is a dream? Is reality merely a dream and the dreams are something deeper within that dream? Maybe our bodies are trapped in some kind of pod, or our bodies are being used as batteries. Yes, I'm aware of that movie as well, the man chuckled. He held out two closed fists, fingers up. One will take you back to your reality, the other will take you further down the rabbit hole. She stared at the closed fist, looking at one and then the other, before realizing they were extruding beyond the screen. She jumped up on the couch, pushing her back against the wall and balancing herself on the backing of the furniture. The man withdrew his hands. Now, do you understand? She shook her head. Is this a dream? The man shook his head. Then she hesitated to ask, am I dead? This has been The House That No One Built, Part 8. Tune in next week for the final part, Part 9, of The House That No One Built.